This is probably one of the scariest videos on the internet, so if you don't like watching scary things, here's your warning.
Breaking news, after 40 years, baby Holly was found and she is now sitting down to do an exclusive interview. Baby Holly went missing more than 4 decades ago after her 2 parents were discovered deceased and dumped in a Texas forest near Houston. However, at that time, Holly was nowhere to be found. Now, thanks to the latest developments in DNA technology, they were able to identify her. On Tuesday, June 7th, the now 42-year-old mother of 5 was informed of her identity. After further investigation, they learned that a family adopted her graciously after she was left on the front porch of an Arizona church. In a 2020 exclusive, she now gives a never-before-seen interview. Here's a sneak peek.
It all started with this sudden arrival of a baby.
I heard a knock at the back door.
They look like they just walked right out of the Bible.
This is just one of several stunning turns in this story. It was days before they actually discovered the 2 bodies, and they were right here.
Yeah, I'm getting chills. How can a child be missing for 40 years?
The woman behind the headline, Baby Holly, sharing her journey for the first time. Holly, it's great to finally meet you.
Thank you, David.
David Muir reporting Baby Holly found 2020 tonight on ABC.
This is scheduled to air tonight, Friday, November 3rd at 9 p.m. What do you guys think? Will you be watching? Drop in the comments.
I wasn't crying, I was choking, okay? I must carry on. Today's story also happened on Halloween Day, and I know Halloween was a day ago, but it's spooky season in my house every day. So this guy starts off by telling us that in his house, they love Halloween, and they have a tradition where they watch scary movies all day on Halloween. But this year was a bit different, and they were all sad because they had just lost their cousin that was 6 years old. He said that his parents requested a photo of their cousin so that they can make her this really big altar at their house. He mentions how after the altar was done, he just thought of how beautiful it was. He said that his sister decided to go stay the night at their cousin's house, which was the older sister of the girl that had passed, and that him and his dad secretly went to go watch scary movies because they just wanted to feel a little celebration for Halloween. He said when the movie was over, they both decided to go to bed, so the dad went to the bedroom with the mom, and that he went to the bedroom that he shares with the older sister, but since she wasn't there, he decided to sleep on the top bunk where she usually sleeps. He said that he fell asleep, but at some point in the middle of the night, he woke up because he heard someone outside his door, and it almost sounded like it was somebody running back and forth. He said he then heard the door to the bedroom open, and he clearly heard when someone laid on his bed below him. He said that he can hear the person below him breathing. He said that he stayed very still because he didn't want whoever or whatever was below him to know that he was fully awake. He said he started thinking of all his options, whether he should scream for his dad or maybe try to run towards the door and hopefully nothing gets him. While he was thinking of all these options and what he could do, he actually heard the bedroom of his parents' door opening and he got excited. He said he was like, should I scream for them? I mean, they're awake, they can hear me, they can make it to me right now. He then heard footsteps and saw his dad open the door to his bedroom. He said that his dad told him, hey, are you awake? Are you okay? As soon as his dad asked that, he said, turn the light on. He said he ran and hugged his dad and said, let's get out of here. He didn't even want to look back to see what was in that room. So the dad actually told the son that the reason why he got up and went to the bedroom was because he was having a weird dream. He said that in his dream, he was seeing their cousin, the one that passed away that had the picture at the altar, that In the dream, she was running around in the house almost like she was looking for something. In his dream, she stopped outside of his son's room, opened the door, and go inside. His dad said that even though it was a dream, something told him to get up and go check on his son to see if he's okay. He said that till this day they still talk about it and how weird it was, and they have told people this story, but people were like, maybe it's just a coincidence that you had that dream and that maybe your son was also dreaming at the same time. But what do you guys think? I still would be scared if it was my cousin, because first of all, why are you scaring me in the middle of the night? And was it even the cousin? Because we don't know. This is another translated story from Relatos de la Noche, and here is the title so you guys can go hear it in Spanish if you want to.
Did you know that in 1965, Brisbane was the subject of paranormal mania? Even whole families joined in. These are the ghost stories from our own backyard. So sit down, dim the lights as I tell you the story of the Victoria Park ghost. On November 1965, Victoria Park in Brisbane was filled up with nearly 5,000 people hoping to catch a glimpse of the Victoria Park ghost. This was because of a rumour that a ghost had been spotted beneath the railway line bordering Victoria Park. One night, a group of boys went to investigate the area themselves, and what they came across was extremely disturbing. One of the boys reported that he had seen a misty green apparition appear from the wall of the underpass and chased him. He also claimed that it looked like a human torso, with no head, no arms, and no legs. This boy was taken to the nearby hospital as his friends feared that he had become possessed. And this sensational story made it into the newspaper headlines the following day. When this story hit the newspapers, huge crowds came out to Victoria Park to try and spot the ghost themselves, some even making it a family outing. One man even turned up with a flamethrower. His plan was to try and force the ghost out. But this wasn't the first time a ghost had been spotted at Victoria Park. There was also a sighting in 1903, described as looking like a 3-metre tall grey nun. And in 1922 and 1932, it was described as looking like a shimmery grey form. Some people believe that the 1965 torso ghost is actually Walter Hall, who had been beaten to death and thrown in this nearby lake in 1952. While others suggest that the ghost is actually Carl Denas, who was a suspect in a brutal murder case in 1960, and ended his life by throwing himself in front of a train on the nearby underpass. And his injuries matched the description of the torso ghost. There is also many cases from the vicinity that people have tried to match to the ghost story. However, all has been quiet since the last sighting in 1965. Perhaps the ghost will reappear someday.
The City Hunter, also known as Ghost, a Yautja from the enigmatic Lost Tribe in 1997, undertook a hunt in the midst of a scorching heatwave and a gang war. His adversaries included a determined government task force and LAPD Detective Lieutenant Mike Harrigan. Notably, he favored close-quarters weaponry over the plasma caster, armed with deadly gear and advanced technology. The City Hunter, though skilled, was impulsive and overconfident. He recklessly attacked armed humans in Los Angeles, drawing the CIA's attention. Grayback considered sending a warrior to rein him in, but the City Hunter's death intervened. In the end, the City Hunter met his demise in a fierce close-quarters battle with Harrigan, who used the Yautja's own smart disk. This confrontation took place on the hidden mothership beneath the city, and the Yautja's body was taken by his fellow Yautja and departed into the cosmos.
So this person asked me, how can I be so sure that aliens haven't already invaded the Earth yet? And honestly, it's a good question. So for me, the reason why I don't believe what we are seeing all over the media about aliens having already visited us is actually just the probability surrounding it all. We are on a single planet, orbiting a single star in a galaxy filled with 100 to 200 billion individual stars. There are billions of potential planets throughout our galaxy alone, and then trillions of other galaxies in the universe that are equally as complex. There are really more planets in the universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth combined. Take that in for 1 second. And now imagine that life has emerged on one of those grains of sand and managed to navigate billions and billions of miles across space and time to locate precisely our little blue world. And fortunately for us, it happens to be right in this tiny period of time in which we live. And after all of that journey and trouble, they just crashed into the planet somewhere in the US? So the answer is, I can never be entirely sure, but the numbers just don't lie. And the chances of aliens being on Earth already seem extremely small to me. If you want to see what it would really be like if aliens did invade Earth, check out Invasion Season 2 exclusively on Apple TV+.
Hi, my name is Bianca, and this story happened to me when I was 8. I used to sleep with my grandma since my family and I lived in small apartments. My family and I started getting ready for bed one night. I fell asleep and everything is normal. But later in the night, I would say 3 or 4 a.m., I wake up on my side. I open my eyes and all I see is this black shadow woman standing over me. I couldn't move, talk, or scream. I closed my eyes again, and when I opened them, there was a woman squatting down looking at me, and she just vanished into thin air. Days later, me, my brother, and nephew were playing tag in our apartment. I ran past my room trying to tag my brother, and I looked over and saw the exact same shadow woman that was watching me sleep just standing there watching me. This story really gives me chills since I still live in the apartments till this day.
You ever heard about Elisa Lam?
No, what's that?
So it's kind of unsolved mystery, right?
Okay.
No, this is an unsolved mystery where this girl, she ended up in like a tank of water and nobody knows how she got there.
What the fuck? How?
So listen. The last sighting of Elisa before they found her body was her on the elevator.
What?
And there's footage of her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you the footage too.
No.
She's like guiding somebody, like, come here, right?
Yeah.
She's like really anxious. She's like in the corner of the elevator,
Holy
very worried the whole time. Hold
Yeah.
on, I'm gonna show you. So look, so she enters the elevator by herself.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to press. She takes a long time pressing the buttons. You see that?
Okay, yeah.
Why do you think she's taking so long? Right now, look, she's standing, and she does some weird stuff, bro. Look at this. Hold on. She's like looking around.
Yeah,
She's looking around, right?
That's sauce.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit
Okay.
just so you can see. She's hiding. See, she's hiding in the corner.
Yeah.
She's looking around. She's scared, right? Look. She's still pressing the buttons and shit, and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
If she's pressing the buttons, wouldn't the elevator go up?
Yeah. Oh no.
So look, she's guiding. See her hand? She's like moving. Come in, right?
What the
Nobody's there.
Yeah.
Nobody's there. There's 2 theories about what happened to her. Now, the first theory is she was on and off her depression medication.
So she's seen
And
stuff.
people think that maybe she was hallucinating and she's going through something and she's just pretending like this whole scenario is happening, right?
Yeah.
But there's a crazier theory that she played the elevator game.
What's that?
The rules that we are essentially taught or just learn in Appalachia really center around minding your own business. And a big way that we are told to do this is by closing our curtains at night and never looking outside into the dark. But why is that? What's out there that is so bad we are not supposed to see it? Why can't we look at it? I mean, it's outside, we're inside. Why? Not only do you not need to see what's lurking around outside, you don't need it to see you notice it. Because that's going to open up a whole can of problems for you that you just don't need to deal with. Especially if you live near the woods or a little wooden area, you don't need to be looking out into the dark, staring into the trees for too long because the trees are going to stare back. Not all trees are your friends, folks, and you don't need to find out which one's a friend and which one's a foe. But not only do you not need to see something looking outside, you don't need to see something outside looking into your house at you. Think about it. It's dark outside. You've got a light on in your house. You are a fish in a bowl. Even if you don't believe in the folklore, close your windows at night, close your curtains so that people aren't looking in at you. Some people do not have the best intentions, and you just don't need people knowing your business in your house. So just keep your windows closed, y'all. Just don't do it. Keep your curtains closed. Put up curtains, put up blinds, put up a blanket. I don't care, but keep it shut.
From 1918 to 1919, New Orleans was paralyzed in fear of the Axeman. At night, this serial killer would enter the homes and stores of mostly Italian immigrant families. Each time, victims were savagely hacked with an object taken from their own property. This was usually an axe or an axe-like object. After one attack, the victim's nieces saw the killer fleeing the scene, and they described him as a dark, tall, heavy-set man wearing a suit and slouch hat. On March 13th, 1919, local newspapers received a haunting letter. This person wrote, "They have never caught me and they never will. I am what you New Orleans and your foolish police call the Axeman." The letter went on to say that the Axeman would strike again at 12:15 at night on March 19th. But any household playing jazz would be spared of any harm. On March 19th, 1919, the city was alive with jazz music as everyone who was able to would play it on their records just to be safe. And it seemingly worked because no one died that night. Overall, 6 were killed and 6 were injured, but due to the blows to their heads, none of the survivors were able to give a detailed description of the Axeman. This person seemed to strike almost at random without any rhyme or reason, and the perpetrator of these grisly killings was never identified.
It has to start with this photo. This was the final picture found on the camera roll of Janine Oswald. Janine is the girl who's here on the right, and her friend Tess is on the left. Tess had dared Janine to go into the Silo House. Hard to find a picture of this place, but it's basically off campus of Missouri State, and it's a very common thing that people would dare other people to go into this place, which Janine did. But she never came back out. So as the story goes, police eventually came, where they found her body completely mutilated inside the Silo House, but specifically they found her phone. Now this was the final picture that was taken on that camera roll, but it's maybe not as sinister or paranormal as you might think. Police actually believe this was a diversion tactic. Think of it like a person or maybe a mannequin that's planted to distract you while somebody else comes out and does something worse.
A lot of people blame Hillary Clinton.
For the protest narrative, she helped push it, right? I mean, she knew in real time it was terrorists. We all know that. She sent email to her daughter saying it was Al-Qaeda-like protest.
I mean, it seemed like she was apologizing for that video after.
Oh yeah, they all
the Benghazi attack.
All
instead of standing up for our men and women over there, she's over here apologizing about
exactly. Jake Sullivan made the video narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they all jumped on board, right? So Obama did a statement, Hillary Clinton did a statement. Obviously, we all know about Susan Rice's talk show. Susan Rice's was actually written by Ben Rhodes. A lot of it was Ben Rhodes writing their statements. That's kind of the character in there. So the main thing she did wrong in that piece was pushing a narrative she knew was fake.
On Halloween night, I heard a loud knock at my door. When I opened it, there was no one there, just some kids running away in the dimly lit street. Annoyed, I yelled at them and went back inside, making sure to lock the door securely. As I settled down on my couch to watch TV, I heard eerie noises echoing from the kitchen. My heart raced as I cautiously made my way there, expecting to find someone, but there was no one in sight. Then, I heard my TV blaring the show I'd just paused. A shiver ran down my spine, and fear gripped me, but I couldn't find anyone in the house. Panicked, I desperately wanted to call the police, but I couldn't explain what was happening. Instead, I decided to take a drive around the neighborhood to calm my nerves. However, my keys were mysteriously missing from the ring. Just then, as I stood in the darkened living room, the power went out, plunging my home into absolute darkness. My heart raced as I fumbled for my phone, its dim glow providing me with a faint source of light. Terrified, I bolted out of my house and ran to my neighbor's house for help. When the lights came back on, I glanced back at my home and saw a shadowy figure upstairs, resembling a kid in a Halloween mask. My trembling hands dialed 911, and when the police arrived, they confirmed that my keys were still on the ring, the back door remained locked, and I had a clear view of the front door the entire time. It was a Halloween night I would never forget, filled with eerie mysteries that defied all logical explanation, leaving me with a lingering sense of dread and unease.
This boy suffered a botched circumcision and was raised as a girl for 13 years. In 1965, David Reimer was born a boy along with his brother in Winnipeg, Canada. But at 8 months, he suffered a botched circumcision and unfortunately, his genitals were accidentally burnt off. While his twin brother was fine, David's damage could not be fixed. So David's parents consulted with Dr. John Money and he suggested that David undergo sex reassignment surgery and be given hormones and instead be raised as a girl. His parents took the advice and changed David's birth name from Bruce to Brenda. Dr. Money believed that David could be easily raised as a girl despite being born as a biological male. The doctor even told David's parents to never tell him or his twin brother what happened to him as a baby. As the twins got older, Dr. Money continued to see them for annual checkups, but it's been said that during these appointments, he would make them rehearse sexual acts as he photographed them. Throughout David's childhood, he rejected anything feminine and consistently showed masculine traits. By the time he reached 13 years old, he was suicidal and his mom realized that he wasn't happy being a girl. Soon after, David's father finally told him the truth and immediately he changed his name from Brenda to David. David then began taking testosterone and going through various operations to rebuild his genitals. But he continued to suffer from psychological trauma throughout his life due to Dr. Money's experiment, and not long after, his twin brother passed away. And sadly, at the age of 38, David committed suicide. A lot of people blame Dr. Money for David's death, but his defense is that it was the right thing to do at the time.
Did you ever see Gone in 60 Seconds? He had Eleanor. It was the car he never could get. Something always went wrong with it. So our boss in Quetta had a terrorist like that. He was like the shadow governor for a really famous Taliban commander named Mullah Naeem Barich. I think his name was like Tahir Shah. And he was in town that day. And this guy tried to get Tahir Shah every time he was in town. I call him, he's like, Tahir Shah's in town. And I said, dude, I'm saying Berader. And he's like, I don't think it's really Berader. He's like, I'm gonna go for Tahir Shah. And then I'll go for Berader if we don't get Shah. So they spent the first half of the day going for the guy he's never been able to get, and they didn't get him, and then Berader moves. And my friend's like, he's driving, he's going home to Karachi, and I'm like, yes. So at this time I've already decided. I said, this is his kid. We did the capture operation, so we just got really lucky. His kid stole an old phone out of the closet and brought on a trip with his dad.
This is the co-founder of the Taliban.
He was number 2 at the time of the Taliban, yep.
This ghost story involves a phantom hitchhiker trying to get home to his mother. These are the ghost stories from our own backyard, so sit down, dim the lights as I tell you the story of the ghostly hitchhiker of Port Wakefield. There has been many accounts of a ghost in Port Wakefield since the 1940s. One of the oldest and most known reports of this ghost was when a young couple was driving along the stretch of road between Port Wakefield and Adelaide, and they noticed a man in the distance. And as they got closer, they saw that he was wearing some kind of Air Force uniform. Wanting a ride, the young couple let the man in the back of their car, and the mysterious man gave them an address in Adelaide to take him to. The couple drove to an address of a house, and when they turned around to say goodbye to the mysterious man, he had completely vanished. The young couple, concerned about the man, went up to the house and knocked on the door, and they were met with an elderly woman. The young couple told the elderly woman about the hitchhiker they had just picked up, but she did not seem surprised. The elderly woman responds and says that it was most likely her son, and this has happened before. She explains that her son died in a plane crash during a training flight near Malala in World War II, and it's believed that this soldier is still trying to make his way home back to his mother. This phantom hitchhiker has been seen many times along this road, either wanting a ride or standing in the middle of the road. One woman claimed that she had to put her brakes on after seeing a man standing in the middle of the highway, but he completely disappeared. There has also been other reports of an apparition in Air Force uniform in the area. One local businessman was entering a public toilet at a service station behind a man in Air Force uniform. But once again, this man completely disappeared in front of his eyes. Have you ever picked up a phantom hitchhiker?
And I look up and it's my Dennis Pegg, and he sees me and he yells out to me like we're best friends, "Hey, Clark!" And I start instantly going into a panic attack. And walking in right behind him is a young boy about the age he raped me at. And that young boy calls him the same nickname he used to insist I call him. And Dennis is starting to make his way to me, probably to give me a hug or a high five or a handshake, and I just ran right by him. We shoulder bumped, I ran right by him, I hopped in my pickup truck, I sped out of the parking lot, I started going down the road, flying down the road, I started punching my steering wheel, yelling, "Motherfucker!" I started spitting on my floor, and my life collapsed that day. I spent the rest of the day out, drinking, doing coke, popping Xanax. I stopped at an Italian restaurant I always frequented, and there was a guy in there who had burned me on a business deal. he and I had words. And my friend says, that guy's got to be number one on your hit list. And before I could stop the words, I couldn't control my mouth. I said, he's actually number 2 on my hit list. The piece of shit who raped me as a kid is number 1.
This boy proved that there were aliens on Mars. Boris Kiprianovich was born in 1996 in the city of Volgograd and knew things about the universe that he had no way of knowing. According to his mother, he started speaking when he was only 4 months old, and by the age of 2, he was already a prodigy, able to read, write, draw, and had an incredible memory and interest in science. When he was 3, his parents took him on a trip to a mountain, where he explained to them that he used to live there in a past life, and that's when he dropped the revelation that in this past life, he was a scientist and pilot from the planet Mars. Now, this might just be a creative imagination, but his parents claimed that they never exposed him to astronomy at that point. Boris claimed that in this past life, he had visited Earth in the time of Lemuria and ancient Egypt, and that the Great Sphinx held secrets that once unlocked would change humanity forever. He revealed that Martians were immortal and very advanced and had even mastered space travel. However, war consumed Mars, and eventually a massive nuclear apocalypse destroyed the planet and its civilization. After Mars was devastated, he claims that he, along with many others, reincarnated on Earth as indigo children. Today the whereabouts of Boris are unknown, with the last photo of him being from 2018. Perhaps it was all a hoax, but many people believe.
This woman saw something on her flight that no one else could see. It happened just moments before takeoff. She was on an American Airlines flight when suddenly she got up and claimed to have seen someone at the back of the plane who wasn't real. People on the plane were very confused, and some even started to worry because no one knew what she was talking about. The woman eventually canceled her flight and disembarked from the plane, which caused a 3-hour delay, leaving the passengers quite unhappy. The reason for the delay was that the crew had to ensure there was nothing suspicious on the plane. Additionally, worsened weather conditions contributed to the delay. Many people say they would have left the plane in her place, likening the situation to the movie Final Destination, where inexplicable events occur, and the flight eventually crashes. For now, it's still unclear whether the woman had taken something that prompted her reaction, or if she saw some kind of creature or ghost.
I don't believe in this at all. Do you believe in that reptilian that everybody talks about?
Like there's reptilian people that's
amongst
roaming
us?
around?
Do you believe that? I don't believe in it either, but there was an article that was written in like the 1930s, like LA Times, talking about lizard people's catacomb city underneath the city. This is a whole article in the newspaper. So supposedly there was a engineer, he used like radio waves to go under LA to like see like what's under there, and he found like giant tunnels of like Lost City or whatever, and he went to like a Native American shaman or whatever, like the chief told him like there's like lizard people that went under the ground and made like a whole city, like 5,000 people, and there's like ancient artifacts down there. When people talk about there's lizard people, all the lizard people is in Hollywood. Oh, they came from underground and now they created Hollywood.
Nah, bro. I just can't believe in it. Like, we can't see any signs of them?
You ever seen them that they post on like when they let the eyes?
Yo,
like,
that's so editing. I've seen all of that. Like Beyonce one, a Katy Perry one, maybe a Justin Bieber one. I just can't believe that.
He slips my shorts off and starts giving me oral sex, and my eyes instantly open, and he's got his out jerking off, and I'm frozen in fear. I'm gripping the side of the chair, and I can't breathe, and my mind is racing, and I'm paralyzed. And as a grown man, that's what haunted me my whole life, is that I froze whenever he touched me. He finished off, gave me another beer, told me this is our little secret, what happened here today. And to the best of my ability, I just tried to put that out of my mind. At age 12, he concocts this giant story that he needs my help. And it ends up with me being at his house. And driving to his house, he picked me up down at the lake area. I'm like freaking out, going back to the house. And we get in there, and he has me chug blackberry bread. And then he fills it up again. Come on, have another blackberry. And I was so nervous going back to that house, I actually wanted to have a drink. And a Budweiser, my second glass of blackberry bread. And we end up on his bed. And we end up with our clothes off. And I end up with him behind me in a bear hug with him behind me. And he starts raping me.